are now listening to the IELTS podcast. Learn from tutors and ex-examiners who are masters of IELTS preparation. Your host, Ben Worthington.
Passing the IELTS exam fast, or as ASAP as possible, as one of my students once emailed me. Hi Ben, I need to pass the IELTS exam as ASAP as possible. Right then, so in this tutorial I'm going to give you 9 very powerful, very useful points to help you pass fast but also stay motivated, because a big part of this is staying motivated. We can all book a test that's going to happen in the next 4 days, but if we're not motivated for those next 4 days or the next 2 weeks to study, then, we're going to obtain the opposite of what we intended to do, which is pass slow. Right then, before I get into this, let me just tell you who I am. My name is Ben Worthington. I'm from the UK. I'm from the north. Some of you might be able to pick out some elements of my accent that are still directly from Yorkshire. But most of these elements, most of these giveaways have been blended away through a career of teaching English. Now, I started teaching English in Spain. I was looking around. There was no real decent jobs. There's a lot of demand for tutors. So I was like, I'll be an English tutor. But then I quickly realized, I need to get good at this. I want to get results for my students, and teaching toddlers in the morning, teaching adults in the evening, teaching business students during the day. Doing it this way, I'm not really going to get it that good. So I decided to specialize, and I decided to specialize with IELTS students because the performance can be measured. So I started interviewing all the experts I could find, asking them what they did. Got a ton of advice. I published the advice, and that's what led to IELTS podcast. And here we are, almost 10 years later. We were the first to produce a podcast around IELTS. We were one of the first to offer online courses and do video corrections, and now we're one of the first, one of the first, not the first, unfortunately, to offer automatic essay corrections for free using AI. Anyway, why is that important? Well, it's important because I've seen over these years a lot of courses come and go, VIP courses, whatever, come and go. Like 1 minute they're there, the next minute they're not. I've seen courses offered for like the equivalent of 50 cents. I've seen lots of things come and go, and I know what works, and I've had a ton of success with students as well, so I know what works. And going back to the topic of this tutorial, how to pass the IELTS exam fast, well, I'll briefly tell you what not to do, okay? Very briefly before we start with the 9 points. Do not bounce around YouTube and Google searching for resources. Doing this, you're just going to burn your time. You're going to use your time ineffectively. You need to be putting the pedal to the metal, as we say. You need to put pen to paper. You need to actually execute and implement what you've learned. Don't sit there like a vegetable watching YouTube. Or a couch potato. Don't sit there like a couch potato, just with a pack of crisps, pack of nachos in your hand. I'm going to pass IELTS. No, it doesn't work like that. You need to be writing. You need to be executing practice exams. Don't find and blend. It's not a recipe. Don't find a few tips from this tutor, blend them all together, make a new way. Unless you're a tutor, maybe you might want to do that, but as a student, you just want to find one tutor, stick with them, follow them, use their way, tried and tested. Now, let's jump into it. 9 points. Number 1, use tools, not information. This goes back to what I just said a few minutes ago about bouncing around aimlessly looking for tutorials on YouTube. That is so 2022. Smart students in 2023 are using tools. This means, we're past the information age, in my honest opinion. We should be using tools. Information is just sort of like one way. You got to interpret it, and whereas if you're using tools, you're going to get that feedback. And this is why the essay check is so valuable. It's so useful, and it's free at the moment. It's free. But using tools like that, you're going to get your feedback and you're going to improve faster. And I'll talk more about this in a minute, because there's a way you can even accelerate even faster. Another type of tool that we should be using are frameworks. Once we've got a framework, it becomes so much easier, so much more straightforward to write an essay, for example. Once we've got a framework for our speaking answers, it becomes so much more straightforward. So again, frameworks are a type of tools, and they can just accelerate our progress and get us to where we want to be even faster. Next point, plan your work and work your plan. Plan your work and work your plan. Or, as my friend used to say, proper planning prevents poor performance. What we're saying here is that, you make a study plan. You don't just sit down or put in your diary, I'm going to study IELTS today. No, I'm going to study IELTS, writing task 2, introductions, second sentence, for example. Break it down to the smallest components, master those components, work on those. Don't just arrive to your computer or to your desk, hungover, thinking, I'm going to start IELTS. What should I do? I'll just go straight to Google, how to write task 2 essay. Now, because then you're going to get into the loop that we just talked about earlier, you're bouncing around YouTube and just getting more confused at the end of the day. So get that detailed plan. And this brings me on to the next point. Point number 3. Not only are you going to plan your work and work that plan, do the work that you've actually listed, but you also want to sign off. What does this mean? You want to write debriefs. This is so powerful. I only learnt this a couple of years ago. But when you finish your studying, you just want to write a note to yourself. In my case, I might write something like, okay, Ben, and honestly, I write like this, and like, well done, you've learnt this part. That's great, but we still need to work on that part. Okay? What does this do? Well, the next morning I sit down at the desk, I know exactly where I left. And I've got that little silly note of encouragement. But we need these notes. We need this encouragement. You've got to be your biggest cheerleader. Nobody else is going to cheerlead stronger for you than yourself, And you've got to change the conversation in your head as well if it's almost negative. If you're always saying, this is garbage, this is terrible, I'm stuck at 6.5, and I'll be stuck at band 6 forever. Well, what we think is usually what happens. So anyway, writing these debriefs, back to the topic, just gets you up to speed, gets you into the project faster. And if you're writing little positive, silly ones like myself, it's just a way to keep that chin high, to keep positive and just keep moving, because I've been there. It's not easy to study, and it's not easy being a self-student. I mean, some of us, we can afford an amazing tutor like myself. Some of us can afford decent teachers who encourage us, but a lot of us can't. So therefore, it's our own responsibility to pick ourselves up. As I said, your mum's going to do it, but your mum's not always going to be around, and she's got other stuff as well to do now, I hope, now that you're an adult. Anyway, number 4, frameworks. Okay, frameworks. Now, I discovered the frameworks for essay writing because I was just writing essay after essay after essay. Okay, this was back when I was living in Spain. I remember it so distinctly, and I remembered that eventually I was just following the same format, and then I distilled it down into a framework. It's like my 100th essay that I've written, and I tested this framework, and I was like, wow, the student passes and they know exactly what to do. All you have to do is drop your ideas. Now, that's since evolved. Now we're on the Band 9 frameworks. That was just a basic framework to get the system, to get the system to get your essay brain writing, to get your essay brain in gear, to organize your thoughts, and to produce a high-scoring task response essay, an essay that scores high in task response. The lexical resource and grammatical range and accuracy was still to be solved. That was the first iteration. Now we're on band 9 and everything's covered, hence why it's called a band 9. But anyway, when you've got your framework, these accelerate your learning, what you need to do is apply what you've learned immediately. There is no point of you thinking, oh, that's a good sentence. No, use it again in your next essay. Keep using it. Otherwise, you are doomed to forget it. You've got to apply it. I remember a friend in Spain, and as soon as she learnt a new word in English, she would use it like 10 more times during the day just to make sure that it stuck. And we've got to do this with our essay writing. In fact, with anything that you're learning, unless you apply it immediately, there's a high chance you're just going to lose it. So use it or lose it. Now, this is why the essay checker is so powerful. This is why we were able to get amazing results with this, because you learn instantly what went wrong and you can correct it. And you're in this, what I'm going to talk about now in point 5 is a positive feedback loop. So what does this mean? Well, it means you get good results, so you get happy, so you're encouraged to study more. So you study more, you get better results. You're encouraged, so you study more, you get better results, you get happier, you study more, so on and so forth. Now, some of us, I know, myself included, we can all get trapped in negative feedback loops where it's just so difficult. I think a few of us fell into a negative feedback loop during COVID, during the pandemic. However, I'm mentioning these positive feedback loops because you need to be aware of them. Okay? You need to try and push yourself into that cycle. And this is again why the essay checker is so powerful, because you can usually see if you're implementing what the essay checker gives you. If you're implementing and learning from that, you're going to see a fast improvement. Okay? Now, there is, it's not just a case of buying the checker and done. No, you've got to buy the checker, submit your essays, improve them, and so on and so forth. But you want to take advantage of this positive feedback loop. Now, this is so important, and speed is so important. And this is point 6. This is why it all connects. Okay, point 6 is move quickly. It's difficult to take advantage of a positive feedback loop or any feedback loop if you write the essay and then 3 days later you get back into the essay and then you remember, oh yeah, the tutor said something about gerunds and something about modal verbs. I don't remember exactly. Now compare that to you get your feedback in front of you instantly, for example. It's like, oh, right, I've got to use more modal verbs, and I've got to use the gerund in this case. You write an essay immediately. Now, the chances, because we're moving quickly, it's more likely that we are going to remember what we've just learned. And this, because we're more likely to remember, it means the improvement goes faster, which means we can take advantage of the positive feedback loop. This is why when you join our online course, the sentence guide one, this is why when we give the feedback from the essay, from the tutor, we say, try and do this as fast as possible. Otherwise, you're going to forget it. I've had students, and they took like 5 months to complete the course. They're writing one essay every 2 weeks. I mean, they did improve, yeah, but that could have all been reduced down to 10 days if they'd have just been writing faster. I know some of us are working and whatnot, but when you get your feedback, it's usually best to act on that immediately. Number 7, I mentioned this briefly before, but find a tutor and stick with them. Okay? The tutor can, if they're a good tutor, if they've got lots of experience, if they've got a proven track record, and if they're reasonable, then sticking with their method, you're more likely to pass rather than chopping and changing and using different techniques and trying to blend it and make your own. It's just a recipe for getting confused. Now, 2 tips remaining. I hate using the word tips, but 2 points remaining in order to pass fast. Accountability. I've mentioned this before. Accountability will help you because when you hold yourself accountable to somebody else, then it takes even more it takes more resources to break that accountability. For example, if I say to my brother, I'll show up at your house every Sunday for the next 3 months and we're going to train together in order to lose weight. Now, if I flake on one of those Sundays, it's going to be very embarrassing for me. If he flakes, it's going to be very embarrassing for him. But if we didn't have that agreement, that accountability between each other, we could both flake, We could both, if I didn't even tell anybody that I was supposed to be training every Sunday morning, then there's no consequences for missing a training session. So anyway, I mention accountability because you can use it to study IELTS. Tell everybody you're going to get Band 7 before July, for example. I'm going to get Band 7 and I'm going to go to the US, ideally before September, for example. Or you can say a more productive way would be just to say, I'm going to study 2 hours, 6 hours every week. I'm going to study IELTS. Now, there's some great tools out there that make this so much easier. One of them, which I use at least once a day, is called FocusMate. $5 a month. You sign up, you get paired with a random person, you study for 50 minutes or work for 50 minutes. At the beginning, you say, I'm going to work on my inbox, I'm going to work on my essay writing, I'm going to work on this study, on my course. They say what they're going to work on, and then you watch each other in a screen and you get working. It sounds a bit creepy, but it works. So it doesn't really matter if it's creepy or not. If it works, that's what's important. This brings me on to the final point. Number 9, if you want to pass fast, then I'm laughing, it's semi-humorous, but join me with the study sessions. What we're doing is I am streaming myself study 6 hours a week. Is it Monday, Tuesday, Thursday? Yeah, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, 10 a.m. till 12 p.m. CET. Central European time, 2 hours, 3 days a week. You can watch me study. What happens is we join the call at 10. I switch on the stream. I tell you what I'm going to be working on, and then in the chat you can tell me what you're going to be working on, or you can even ask me IELTS questions. Then after 10 minutes I mute it. You get to work on the goals that you said you're going to work on. I'll get to work on my goals, and then after 50 minutes we are at 11 o'clock, and then I'll tell you, okay, that was a great session for me. I managed to complete X, Y, and Z, but I'm still struggling with D. How did your session go, Catherine? How did your session go, Mohammed, for example? And they're like, I still got Band 6 in the reading. Okay, well, have you tried this? I can say, for example. Or they might just say, Ben, I'm stuck with task 2 or whatever. Or I'm stuck and I need to work on my inbox, whatever. I need to write essays. I guess you'll be doing essays if you're listening to the podcast and you find out about these study sessions. So join us. You're going to get accountability and you're going to get a bit of help with the IELTS exam. Now, it's not a study session, okay? I'm not going to be teaching you how to write a task 2 essay. I'm just going to give you some quick advice for quick questions. The main focus is accountability, of showing up, study with me for 2 hours, have a little break in between, we get to know each other, and we keep moving forward. How do you find out about these sessions? Well, sign up to the Pass Fast email list, and you're not only going to get some information about new content, about You're going to get a free course on how to pass the exam quickly, but you're also going to get the URLs needed to join these study sessions, the calendar URLs and the YouTube live study streams. Have a look at that. It's going to definitely help you. I wish you a beautiful day. I wish you all the luck with your IELTS exam. You can get through this. You can pass fast. You just need the right tools, the right guidance, and you'll get there. Have a super day. Stay strong, stay motivated, stay positive.
Thanks for listening to IELTSPodcast.com.